All right, Shalom. Shalom, Shalom. Call like Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh Shai, Wahara Kakodash. Double honors to the hopefully like elder apostles slated to be saved. Lord willing, starting with the elder men at the Great Millstone Church on down to the rest that may be out here under the same doctrine. On to the Akim here at this faction of this hopefully elect assembly set up through the spirit, power, and grace and mercy for the glory and for the glory of Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh Shai, in the order doing what they need to do according to the scriptures. Shalom, and to the rest of the Akim doing likewise, and to the rest of the believers in on this faith of Yahweh Basham Shai as well. So, new words on the streets of Babylon. Words on the streets of Babylon. And that's what? That is pretty much it's supposed to be, I'll pull it up, a new shutdown on the way, another shutdown, right? But this is just a few quick things. I want to say it's prophecy. It definitely goes into prophecy, but it's more so things that we need to be on the lookout for that's happening. Um, Obviously, not saying that prophecy isn't one of them, obviously, but um, that's less of. It's just watching these devils. It's more so just hearing little things. They because we won't be going into full outright prophecy, but we just watching these devils per se. We just seeing the things they're doing and analyzing and assessing things that ultimately they go into prophecy. you know, and it's alluding to prophecy, but we just want to focus on those, those things, right? That do that, that's of that, that's doing that. And then this is pretty much something that was covered in this last gathering I brought out through the spirit, which was it's the issue 91 for those that didn't see it and may want to go check it out. But towards the end of it, pretty much I brought out this article that was said that pretty much it regarded Elon Musk being called. Basically, they said he joined in with the prophets of gloom because he was saying like the economy is just finished and whatnot, and pretty much it went into the interest hikes, right? These interest rates, which is an act being done by the Federal Reserve, right? Once again, the central bank, the central banks, which these central banks is somebody entity to really keep your eye on because these central banks are playing a role. The central banks is who's pretty much ushering in, the skin cash, all right, system, and they're helping doing it. Do it by what's been said for the longest now, starting at our elder apostles, which is pretty much, and also the whistleblowers, other whistleblowers, or the whistleblowers, which is what how they're crashing the dollar and whatnot, intentionally. All right, that's what the entity, the Federal Reserve, which is the Central Bank of America, is doing right now. They're helping doing. That's what they're actually doing with their tactic to lower the inflation, which is their reasoning for pushing up interest rates. Now, what this is saying to lead to is a bunch of unemployment, right? And simply, I'm gonna just say what I think with this. I think this is them pretty much creating a ordeal situation to where people will be right where they need for people to be. To this wouldn't be their exact attention, but to do what we know they want to do according to the scriptures, which is pretty much chip everybody. Put the skin cash, have that skin cash, on people. Have people turned into the skin cash, right? Buying and selling, with skin cash, the skin cash. No matter if it's, you know, uh, in your forehead or you know, behind your forehead or behind your right hand, right? That skin cast though. But yeah, I believe they setting up this, which is gonna create a way because it links up with the 13th chapter of Revelation and the 16th verse on down. Oh, too well, right? But and what else did I want to point out with this? And I'm gonna show you that through the Spirit as I get into these articles and I pull the scriptures. All right, and ultimately they have no choice but to do this because this is the will of the Heavenly Father, and this is them trying to crown their enterprise. When they think they finally done it, because they got people to starting with the Willie Lynch chip theory, you know, uh, which is to the privily to the so-called Negroes, so-called which are who are the Hebrew Israelites. All right, the so-called West Indians. Okay, and even onward to the so-called Latinos and Native American Indians, who are all also the Hebrew Israelites, which is a part in that Willie Lynch chip theory was said uh, how Esau, the so-called white man, who was claiming his stake as the ruler of this world, and getting himself to the point of where he's completely above everybody. His way of getting there was enslaving people, and in that Willie Lynch ship theory, which who was a slave owner from the West Indies, right? Uh, he pretty much testified to that, you know, to this being the case for these so-called white people, that had to arise and, you know, take ownership for the fact that, yeah, we're the devil, we want to rule the world right now, this is our world, everybody beneath us. By him saying in that letter to the other slave masters that was of the so-called white people, who was like, yeah, let's take our part in voluptuousness and use the creatures as in youth, alluding to Wisdom of the second chapter as well. They all, this is how they think, starting with the elite bankers, right? The fake Jews, the Amalekites, right? A lot of those slave masters, slave owners were, right? And they still are actually, but in it he said to them, to the others that was like-minded, you know, and got with the program, this the will of the Heavenly Father for them. He said that they're almost blinded. They completely almost succeededly. He's almost succeeded in taking every bit of light out of the Hebrew Israelites' mind, out of Jake's mind. He didn't say Hebrew Israelite or Jake, but the so-called Negroes. And that's a part of them. That was their tactic to crowning their enterprise. You know what I'm saying? That was their tactic to building their enterprise, I should say. Right? Get into this ultimate point of showing, which is seen in this, that they want to completely rule, right? And in order for them to rule, they have to have and completely be on top. They believe they have to have everybody enslaved and blinded. That's why scripture talk about how gross darkness is gonna cover the people with all of that. So they fed people lies, they enslaved people, they made people death slaves. Ultimately to keep people where they need, starting with Jake Privily, right? Even their own. That's why the Lord is only worried about the kings. But to say the least, at the end of them, the final part of them completely fulfilling, like, climbing Mount Everest. They got that infatuation with climbing mountains, right? That is seen, right, physically in them, the crowning of which would be like the crowning, right? In them completely putting that that all them people completely, right? Because they already call it the nation's cattle, you know. And you what? You stamp your cattle. You mark your cattle, right? And then you can be, your business it just runs. But that's what they're doing, man. That's the ultimate part of Esau. That's the final part of Esau crowning his enterprise. You know. So simultaneously, he knows that he has a short time. You know what I'm saying? So, but he believes because his heart has been hardened because he's the new, Pharaoh basically. He's today's spiritual Pharaoh, the so-called white man, right? Whose heart has been hardened, just like ancient pharaohs by the Most High, Yahweh, the God of the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. These people he wants to keep ruling for him because that's what had his whole enterprise working. The slaves, the Hebrew slaves that built them great cities, treasure cities. You could read about that in Exodus, the first chapter. All right. So having these slaves is very important. So he think if he can just make them theirs, I'm your God completely. That's it. So that's what they ultimately pushing through. You got to keep that in your forefront because they really know they got everything through their slaves. They know that we built everything, keeping them in sin, and the best slaves you can have being the Israelites. But anyway, to say the least, let's go ahead and move on. So why the Fed? You see in this article that was put out September 24th, 2022, right? It says why the Fed is pushing, and this is on thehill.com. Why the Fed, right, the Federal Reserve is pushing unemployment higher. Why are they doing this? Now, jumping into this, it says, I got a few things pulled up. It's supposed to help fight. The way they're doing this is raising interest rates, right? And we're gonna explain that in just a second, right? And the reason they're doing, and the reason for that is to stop or combat inflation, right? The prices being so high on everything, right? That's why the Lord talked about rumors of war, because all this started off them saying that the war and different sanctions and whatnot, Russia beefing with Ukraine, which has brought America in and NATO and the EU, you know, to where they like, nah, you can't have this that I usually supply for you, and you can't have. So now the little bit that supply that we usually get from the supply that's usually gotten from the supply of Russia, uh, of America, in America, it's become that much more rare, scarce, or whatever, right? But that's why that's prophecy was important because the Lord said it was a rumor of war. These niggas really lying. Now people are actually being affected. It is that like it was actual business that took place. So understand that. But it's a lot of this the reason, that's the reason. Rumors of war. You're gonna hear rumors of war, right? A lot of chatter and reason, and as from the war, a lot of things gonna be said as reasons. You know, talk, which is powered by the war. This war that's going on, which ain't even a war, it's a proxy war. But nonetheless, right? It's not a real war, it's a proxy war. Nonetheless, that's why that's important. So you will be able to identify, okay, if that's not necessarily true, it's a rumor, right? The Lord said we're going to hear things as rumors, which are things that's not necessarily true, right? Or things that's going to come up which come from this war, right? It's going to come from wars or whatever, or things that's gonna come up due to this war. That pretty much gives you, you know, take everything with a grain of salt perspective, and it allows you the chance to always see and realize there could be an agenda here to do this. I mean, it could be an agenda behind when things such as rumors or whatever from these wars are mentioned. With understanding that rumors are war scripture. Now, with that being said, how raising interest rates helps fight inflation and high prices. So the Fed, who is going back, the Fed, who is pushing they're pushing unemployment, the Federal Reserve, which is resulting from them trying to combat the inflation from pushing the interest rates up, right? When you read on, let's read. This is June 16, 2022, right? Now, we in October, and they got their trajectory right. They had their trajectory right, ironically, right? From June up until now, because now we in the beginning of October, which is us coming off the end of September, which is them, which is a time when they were saying the employment rate was going up, which they were saying it was due to uh, inflation. Let me pull that really quick. Right, higher employment. This is the Wall Street Journal. Rate looms as the Fed fights inflation. Right, and this was put out June 13th. So see, that's crazy. They really had their trajectory completely right. But the Lord said, man's goings are the Lord. But the Lord also told us that in the scriptures that they got an agenda. You know, they got a path they only can head down. They got a place they have to end up in. And they can only get there this one way, being deceitful, being wicked, and trying to come up with things and have to come up with things that lead to World War III. So they got to make nukes, they got to make missiles, they got to have uh, bravado, envy, lies, covetousness going on. And then ultimately the skin cash. So they got to be, up in their technology. They have to get rid of the way people, transition the way people buy and sell now to a new way people are going to buy and sell. All of this, they can only go down those paths. So once again, it's just crazy how they got their trajectory. Besides that, if you ain't like, you can't, if they're only going to head that the way. So you can't say you're going to head somewhere else, right, and have that trajectory right if you're of those people that he said is going to go that way, which they are. So how and they not necessarily saying that, but I mean the scriptures say the devil knoweth he have but a short time. So they gotta know. So they coming down having great wrath. So that's what this is. And then the funny part about it is, right? And I want to get that word trajectory, so we can all be on the same page. All right. Trajectory. It says the path followed by a projectile flying. No, let's get another one. Yeah, direction. Right? They had their direction. They had their path, their course, right? As far as speaking on it, like as far as where they were going to where they were going to be, right? Correct. They were speaking about the path they was going to take, the course, the route, and they somehow getting it right, the direction. Just like the scriptures getting it right. Now, how is they doing this? So they got to know that they have but a short time. They got to be listening, all of that. And all the other crap they were saying, right? was obviously reveals they had an agenda. They were speaking peaceably to these people, and then out of nowhere, boom, they said what? We beat the you know what, so everybody can go back, can take they mask off and all that. So now the shutdown is basically done, even though they never really said that. I've never heard them verbally said the shutdown was over. So we technically still under a pandemic, but they told people you could take your mask off and all that just to come back with more variants and all this other crap. But anyway, and then all of a sudden, boom, another shutdown, pops up. So that was them lying. They didn't have a trajectory right. But is it because they didn't know where they was going to end up at? No, that ain't the reason. That's not the reason. So why would they say something that had nothing to do where they was actually going to end up at if they knew where they was going to end up at? An agenda. And it's obviously, it concerns people. And people being asleep to where this path that they're going to end up at will have all these people right there with them. Which is them what? Serving out the witchcraft, aka the skin cash, and people, at the end of that path, and people being right there with them, the masses, the sheeple, receiving it, being hit with it. See that? So let's go ahead and get into this on the further level, right? Because I want to keep this fairly short. So when you come back to this article, June 16th, right? They've been fighting. They've been raising interest rates, which has been going on for months, right? So I'm not saying this just happened, but to fight inflation, Joe Biden administration passed a order, executive order, an inflation act order, right? Which I can read really quick. Let me get it pulled up. He just passed one, right? It was Yep. He passed that order September 12th, and it's called the Executive Order, the Implementation of the Energy and Infrastructure Provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act. You can look that up, right? So, are they really trying to reduce inflation? In a sense, yeah and no. And I'll show you, the scriptures will show you as we get through why I say that. So when you read on, the Federal Reserve announced Wednesday an increase in its key interest rate by 0.75 to help fight inflation and get price growth under control. It's the third time in a row the Fed has raised rates by 0.75 in the fifth interest rates hike of the year. The Fed hopes that by raising the interest rates, it can slow down the economy and cause prices to come back down. So the economy gonna slow down, right? Now, what does that mean? But how does raising interest rates do that exactly? When you get a loan from a bank, for example, when you're buying a house, an interest rate is attached to that loan. The interest rate is the price you pay to borrow the money. So basically, it's a price it costs you to buy something, right? It's a price to be able to pay for the price. That's basically that's what interest is. It's usury, right? It's to get more money out of you. It's really how they finance the country. Interest rates is tax, right? That's another way for saying taxes. Like some cost you $1 and they put 25 cents on it. That's tax, right? So that's interest. It's like when you owe somebody money, like a loan, like they use, and they be like, for you to borrow 500, you're gonna have to give me an extra 10 every day, which might, let's just say, for example, by the time you pay it off, results in you giving them an extra 50. So it costs you 50 to get 500 from them, and you give them the 500 back, by the way. So they just got money out of your pocket, and you're making money off of you. That's tax. Now, what does tax mean? It says compulsory contribution to state revenue, right? Levied by the government on workers' income, right? So you're making a contribution, financing the country. You paying for their bills. For them to get rich. You making them get rich. For them, you paying for them to have their world. It says, and business profits, and you just to live in it, right? Or added to the cost of some goods, services, and transactions. Now, simply is what? It's fee. It's tributary. See that? They're fees. They're tolls, right? A strain or a heavy demand. It's a burden. That's what tax is. That's how you're supposed to look at tax, right? Now, interest rates and taxes, the same thing. I just want to see if you can type that in the same and someone if someone you can get that as being a result, like someone else realized that taxes and interest rates are the same. It's the same thing. They're the same thing. Yes, typically most interest is taxed at the same federal tax rate. You see difficult. They got it's a yay or a nay. What is the relationship? Right? Interest rates is a tax. You pay taxes on the interest, but the interest is taxed. It's something extra. We're gonna prove it and they're gonna cut themselves because I already got it in the article anyway. See that? But anyway, let's go back, man. Even if you want to be like, well, they can put extra taxes on your interest rates. That's just putting them just that's just really all that is just making the interest rate higher. That's it. And they can explain it however they explain it to you. But anyway, because I don't want to keep this fairly short. This is moving on. So banks need to borrow money too. I'll start from the top from here again. It says when you get a loan from a bank, for example, when you're buying a house, an interest rate is attached to that loan. The interest rate is the price you pay to borrow the money, right? Banks need to borrow money too. That's the thing. And instead of borrowing directly from other banks, they look to the Federal Reserve, right? No, they look to you too. That's why you have a monthly fee to have a bank account. See that? They charge you for holding your money, but they make you think it's free and they're hooking you up, but they go right over your head. Then they try to say what? Well, that's only if you don't deposit so much a month. Well, if you got a certain amount in your bank account, that money is not always available. You will go to the bank account and be like, I want to withdraw this. And they may say they don't have it. Why don't they have it? Because they're using your money. That's that. So they lying. And they know people realizing this. And it's a pit that they dig for people, but they fell into themselves, which I got the scriptures coming up in just a moment. It says they look to the Federal Reserve, America's central bank. That's who they look to, right? Instead of looking to other banks, right? Its primary role is to provide a safe and reliable financial system for the U.S. by maintaining the power. And the elite bankers own the banks. They're really the damn Federal Reserve, you know? But it says its primary role is to provide a safe and reliable financial system for the U.S. by, because that's who want to hit it. They want skin cash, right? Because which makes sense because people more valuable than these pieces of paper. See that? So that's how they gonna crown their enterprise. But give us you to get this. We want you completely now. You've been doing it, but just do it for real. And people that buy in is basically showing on a further level how much they worship the world they're in, and not only the world, but the one that set up the world, the damn devil, right? Allowed by the so-called Slaki, but allowed by the Heavenly Father, Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shah, who people ignorantly call God and Jesus Christ. right? It says its primary role is to provide a safe and a reliable financial system for the U.S. by maintaining deposit accounts for banks. When banks need to borrow money, they look to other banks. They have deposit accounts with the Fed that may be in surplus. We're going to get that word surplus. But when you read on, it says, and just with any other loan, the banks are charged an interest rate. It's the point for borrowing money. See that? So in order for the bank to get money from the Federal Reserve or the elite, they charge them. It is this percentage known as the federal funds rate that the Federal Reserve helps set with its interest rate announcements. So basically, they saying the reason why the inflation, um, basically they're saying, how can I say this? The reason why people are going to be unemployed, once again, going to these other articles, right? Why the Fed is pushing unemployment higher, because no one's making money. So in order for them to basically make this make sense, which shows they are in debt too, the pit they dig, they have fallen into themselves. The way they try to combat that, they like, well, in order for us to use this time to, how can I say this? I don't want to say break even. They can't keep having money go out. That's the whole point, you know? Or the whole thing just completely collapse, which is what they gonna do. They want to do anyway, but everyone is not even involved on this. That's why you have to understand that there's an elite people that's running everything, and everyone is and they're controlling everything, and everyone is not involved. So that's why I look like there's two sides. People are actually angry because everybody not enlightened. No one's really. Everyone is not at this table, right? You know, who owns and controls the Federal Reserve, right? They talking about it's owned by its member banks, right? So there's a bunch of banks that help make the Federal Reserve. That's the elites. It's just that simple. I went into this before, but just, and I don't want to go into it too deep. Now, everything a goddamn conspiracy in this world. You know, gross darkness gonna cover the people. That's one hand. You know, each of the 12 regional reserve banks of the Federal Reserve is owned by its member banks, who originally pointed up the capital to keep them running. That's the elites. See that? So just to say the least, right? Um, because I want to make sure this is clear to you. The way you have people, as it says in this article, right? Which basically came out the same time this one came out. This one came out June 16th, right? This one came out June 13th, so 3 days before, right? Higher unemployment rates loom as the Fed fights inflation by what? Saying like, yo, in order for, um, how can I say this? In order for us to keep giving y'all money, y'all gonna have to give us more money, which once again, upping the interest rates is how they fight inflation. It's like when inflation, like if everything go get higher, you gotta make more money to compensate for it. So it's that simple. So it's just retarded how they do everything. They're gonna have to give out more of what they hold in order to um keep this thing going. So they actually losing. And the FRN is a fiat currency, so it's backed by gold. Or you know what? I don't want to. No, it is. That's what it is. Fiat is when something is backed, right? It's going a little bit, more complex than I wanted to. But it says fiat money is a government issued currency that is not backed by commodities such as gold. I forget what type of which one it is. It's a peg. It's pegged. It's a stable. It's a stable. This is dealing with the crypto, right? Stable currency, stable. All right. A stable coin is a digital currency that is pegged to a stable reserve asset like the U.S. dollar or gold. So that's why I said that, because technically something the something is behind the U.S. dollar, because they couldn't use the U.S. dollar to explain to you what a stable coin is, which is a digital currency that is pegged to a stable reserve. What makes you know uh, the U.S. a stable reserve, right? Even though it's really not stable anymore, but it's still presented as stable because it is stable. It's a petrodollar. That's simply why the U.S. the FRN was stable, right? You can't buy and trade gold. You can't buy and trade to get oil unless you have the U.S. dollar. If you want to get it from the supplier Saudi Arabia, you can't get their oil due to the deal they made in the 70s, right? Which pretty much got the U.S. back, the FRN backed by the um, the Saudis putting their, you know, Ishmael or Elam, whoever, because Arab mean mix, Saudi Arabia, right? But anyway, that's what got basically the U.S. dollar became backed by their oil, by them offering the U.S. that is to protect Saudi Arabia's oil fields. So that's one thing that made. Hence, you got the petrodollar. That's what made the U.S. dollar, a stable currency, because you need oil for everything. You know, everything basically, like at least 70% of everything is run off oil in this society we live in. You think about it, I mean everything. You know, oil, right? Petroleum. That's where the word petrodollar come from. But anyway, right? So my point is to stay on the point, more so, like concisely, is what? In order for them to keep this dollar, Salaki, keep this whole thing going, everybody gotta make more. They gotta have more of it going out, but that's just not gonna work. They need more coming in for their own economy to keep running. So it's just goddamn madness, bro. It really is. Let me just read these. This is boom, and this the point. This is in the WEB, the Catholic Bible. This is Proverbs in the 26th chapter, right? Yeah, 26. Proverbs 26 and 10. It says, as an archer who wounds all, right? There's somebody that can't shoot. Like they basically hurt everybody. An archer, right, that wounds all. Someone that shoot arrows, they hit everybody, right? It says, and it hurt everybody. So is he who hires a fool, or he who hires those who pass by. So they're not trying to be hurt. So that's why the interest rates is the interest rates, which uh, the interest rates are causing unemployment. But not only are they causing unemployment, they're causing unemployment intentionally, right? Intentionally. Because basically ain't nobody, I wish I would explain this earlier, like when I was, really sitting with it. But pretty much the way this once again works, I got to make this clear. I'm gonna read this one more time. When you get a loan from a bank, for example, when you are buying a house, an interest rate is attached to that loan. The interest rate is the price you pay to borrow the money. Right. It says banks need to borrow money too. Instead of borrowing directly from other banks, they look to the Federal Reserve, America's central bank. Its primary role is to provide a safe and reliable financial system for the U.S. by maintaining deposit accounts for banks. Right. So they have to keep people with bank accounts. All right. Now it says when banks need to borrow money, they look to other banks that have deposit accounts with the Fed that may be in surplus. So basically extra money, like that's just sitting around, like savings accounts, people's savings accounts, people that got deposit accounts, period. That's like extra money just sitting around. Just the whole thing's sick, right? I don't even want to get too deep in that, but it says, and just as with any other loan, the banks are charged an interest rate for borrowing money. See that? That's why it's a pit that they have digged, right? To get rich and for other people to get poor, but they fall in themselves. It says it is this percentage known as the federal funds rate that the Federal Reserve helps set with its interest rate announcement. So pretty much they saying how raising interest rate helps fight inflation and high prices, but that led to higher employment due to the rates going the hell up. And why is that? Because in order for everybody to compensate for this inflation, which is seriously in some regard due to all these goddamn devils beefing, like gas, for instance, these energy bills, all of these different things, the different resources. Russia is also a high supplier for what is it? I forget what is it? Grain. Brothers know brothers can drop it. I forget, right? But nonetheless, they they had to compensate for that by making everything that they had on hand, which usually come from these people that's a priority, right, if you will, more expensive. Because they basically they trying to sell double for every one they lose, right? They got to sell let's say they lost for one for everything they have lost. They used to get from these people they beefing with. So now for every one, they got to sell. I won't even say two. They got to sell three to make up for the one they lost. Yeah, for every one they lose, they got to sell two for every one they sell, since they done lost one, just to replace that one. Say it like that. That's inflation. That's how you combat. And that is hitting everybody, right? So this the thing. They're going broke because everybody paying more. You know what I'm saying? And the rich ain't trying to have that. And the bank's going broke. Why? Because of the inflation. They're not making any money. Like people not even opening bank accounts because they can't afford it, right? And then that got the elites. They're losing, right? Because they fund these wars, so I don't want to, sound like I'm contradicting anything, but pretty much Esau losing. Let's just put it like that. They're losing. So they like, yo, We got to compensate. You got to pay us more, right? Because it's all political. So people are actually technically people are losing. They're losing. They're fucking losing, man. And they're not just losing these stupid ass pieces of paper. They're losing. Um, they have to spend more of that. They have to actually go into their valuables, right? Because they actually spending valuables. That's what you gotta realize. They spending valuables. They finna have to spend valuables because that's how you get deals on the table. Okay, you give me this for this. They not. So that's how they compensating. So they like, yo, we gotta compensate. So they up the rate. They up the rate, but now it's to the point. In order for us to really stay good, people gotta lose their fucking jobs, bro. People gotta lose jobs. Why? Because there's less money going out. Think about it, right? Like if they are compensating and then adding a little bit more on, like surplus, right? They breaking even. Everybody still getting theirs, and they coming back for all the months they lost because they probably lost big time, right? Which we know they have. When you read Habakkuk, the second chapter, it tells us that. Let me just get a quick scripture because I don't want to keep talking like I'm not, about the scriptures. I don't went past my mark. They probably gonna be an hour, but because I got to get this point across. Right, this is Habakkuk 2 and 5. It says, yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, see, and is as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. This the point, shall not all these take up a parable against him in a taunting proverb and say, woe unto him, meaning destruction, that increaseth that which is not his. Right, they constantly heaping unto themselves the valuables, people's resources, people's money, what they worked for and they didn't, you know. Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and to him being the so-called white man, right? How long? And to him how long he gonna keep doing that? Well, it's coming to an end now. And to him that laded himself with thick clay. And the devil know that. So he about to come down having great wrath, right? Which takes me directly into the point. Now you get this, you know, thick clay, the elder apostle Gabar, he explained this, broke this down, gave the understanding to this, you know, and the elder apostle Aramulab, right? And obviously the other, the elder apostle Har and the rest of the elders. But when you go into this, it's heavy. It says heavy depths, right? Heavy depths. So they're in debt. They're in a heavy ass debt, a load of debt. All right, which one has contracted. So with that being said, going back here, they like people got to lose their money. They got to lose their jobs, bro. Because yeah, we can up everything and twice the price, three times the price to make up for you know all of everyone we lost and all of the money we lost. For this duration when we've been without this, right? But we can also so where we don't break, we don't lose, we don't go under float, right? We don't go into further depth ultimately. Thus, the Bible telling you they messed up. But we can also do even better if we just be the devil and just unemploy people, because it basically it worked like this. If they with them bringing the people still gonna be spending money, but if they willing to which is treat and they gonna make everything back. But if so, boom, they got that coming in. But they'll also compensate by cutting other people off, right? From cent, which that'll bring in like those people not getting nothing, basically. You know, they're not getting nothing. That'll bring that pretty much that'll stop them from like an expense. You know, think about it. If you want to make more profit at a business, you just have less people work for you and have them do the work of have one person do the work of 7 men. Now that's more profit. So the company's not gonna slow down. They gonna keep slaving niggas. They gonna slave niggas even harder, even worse. But there's only so long that's gonna last, and these companies gonna break. But that's how they're trying to make ends meet, pretty much, you know. But the devil gonna realize what they already have, you know. I mean, let's read this real quick so I can close this out. It says Federal Reserve officials are beginning to signal that higher employment rates might be necessary consequences of their efforts to damp inflation by raising interest rates. See that? This marks a reversal from last year. So I'm gonna jump down to the point. It says, right, which is um, when their policies provided strong economic stimulus aimed at spurring the labor's market. So they doing the opposite of what they ain't no stimulus checks, right? Recovery. So people finna be without. People about to be out of there. And the people that still have their intents, this is what they thinking. And now I think about it, it don't really make sense. But on a get rich quick scheme, try to come up with a fast fix, that's what that it makes sense. But when you really think about it, it's still not gonna work. Like they literally they messed up all around the board. It says when their policies provided strong economic stimulus aimed at spurring the labor's market recovery from the pandemic's damaging effects, which they did. So this nigga literally eating. He's the Leviathan. He's eating himself. He's destroying his own world. He digged the pit and he's falling into it once again. Now, some on the show that was said in this. Most Fed officials in March expected the unemployment rate to hold near or fall below its current level this year and over the following 2 years. Nah, that's not. Let's get that clear. Federal Chairman Jerome Powell, right? The brother Tazabah, he brought out this information, right, regarding something that this guy said, right? But it says and other officials, right? Officials suggested earlier this year that they might be able to reduce demand for labor. Exactly a source of inflation pressure. It says primarily by prodding employers to cut job vacancies rather than by laying off workers and pushing up unemployment. So they basically saying to stop hiring people. See that? If you cut job vacancies, what that mean? We don't have it. No, stop that. We don't have any more openings. Kill off the openings. Don't hire people. It says rather than laying off workers. So it ain't the fact that people gonna lose their jobs, supposedly, but more so that no employment. So people about to be out of there, and then eventually those people on the jobs gonna get tired, and that's gonna be all she wrote. But in recent interviews and public statements, Fed officials have sketched out a path in which unemployment rises this year, though not sharply as the economy and inflation cool. It says a scenario Powell, right, has referred to as a soft or softest landing. Right. I was going into that not too long ago. You know, so they had their trajectory right. You just got to know when they feed you crap and when the Lord got them telling themselves. It says, and when I think of a soft landing, is really a matter of yes, we could see growth below trend for a while. And we could definitely see unemployment moving up somewhat, but not in a huge way, supposedly, right? Now, when you read on, it says they planning all this. You know, they are planning this. Because when you go to this article, why the Fed is pushing up unemployment higher, it says federal, and then this a cut. This a damn. This see, it says Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said Wednesday it will be almost impossible for the central bank to beat inflation without hundreds of thousands of Americans losing their jobs. See that? They said federal officials expect the unemployment rate to rise 4.4% next year, up from 3.7% in August as they jack up borrowing costs and slow the economy. See that? Period. So it ain't gonna be room for everybody to eat. And their plan is to still compensate and combat the inflation the same way, but a lot of people about to die off in their process of trying to do this, you know, supposedly. But once again, as I told you, I believe they setting up a scenario for people to end up right where they actually, are heading, and they know they headed intentionally, which is no man being able to buy or sell except he have this. So you about to have a bunch of people in this in a situation where they can't buy or sell because they don't got jobs, because you supposedly not able to do that unless you have jobs. But that's where they're gonna lose, just to probably get people to that point of where they can come with a resolution. You know what? We can't do this because they're gonna have to get the dollar out of there, bro. They trying to make this dollar work, but it's not gonna work. There's only so much of this crap you can keep printing. And they know that, so eventually they're gonna come out of nowhere. All right, let's start over. Boom, the reset, new world order, novus ordo seclorum, right? And and that's gonna be the end of their age, because that's what novus ordo seclorum means, right? Or goes into, or is it the pluvius orbis? No, yeah, novus ordo seclorum, which is new order of the ages. And said Esau the end of this age. So it's the last thing he gonna do. And they know that, man. This is how they in their head. That's the final step they gotta do to finally win and have it over with. They conquer God, they conquer people, and they ruling forever. These people are mine now. You goddamn dummy. This dude's so crazy, man. Right? But anyway, federal officials expect the unemployment rate to rise 4.4% next year, up from 3.7% in August, as they jack up borrowing costs and slow the economy. Now, experts say an increase in jobless rates over the course of a year will likely push, that's going into 2023, more than 1 million workers out of their current jobs and leave millions more unable to find better work or higher wages. So what do you do? And this is where the other part comes in, where they pretty much are just completing, the scriptures. They're the pit they gonna fall in, because while they trying to compensate, people gonna be without. And like I said, you supposedly not be able, they're gonna be, people basically gonna be in a situation they can't buy or sell, right? Because they don't have a job, which is the only way you supposedly are able to buy or sell, but not if you if you trying to survive. These niggas they gonna wreak havoc on this place. He destroying himself. So now you tell me if this is not intentional, and he doesn't know, as the Lord said he does. You know, this nigga know he got a short time. You know, he knows. Revelation 12:12. It says, "Rejoice, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea." We ain't caught up in this crap. We don't give a goddamn what this devil doing, because we know the Heavenly Father, he got our minds fixed, right? He gonna keep us completely good. You know, we're not gonna want for nothing. We're gonna be in perfect peace because we keep our eyes stayed upon Him, our hearts stayed upon Him, right? At famine and destruction, we gonna laugh. You know what I'm saying? Nobody not tripping on this goddamn devil, right? We gonna be straight, but well, tell you that in Psalms 112 and 7, right? What? That he shall not be afraid of evil tidings. It says his heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. See that? His heart is established. He shall not be afraid until he see his desire upon his enemies. See that? And that's what them eat themselves and destroy themselves. And the devil know that, man. They you don't think they counting the cost? This is Revelation 12 and 12. I mean they do forget the latter end, but they consider it, they count the cost and they be like, that's the difference. We count it and be like, that's it. This is what it take, boom. You know? Even if they accept it, they go on with a different mentality in their acceptance of it, which is what's seen here. Revelation 12 and 12 explain here. Therefore rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants, that's what we caught up in, right? And hopefully physically when the ships come, when the missiles hit this place. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil has come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Right? So all this unemployment and things, man, they trying to get people in a position of where shit, they gonna be right here, man. I'ma just jump to the point, right? I'ma close out. All right. Revelation 13, right? And 16. And he calls it all, right? Both small, great, small and great, rich and poor. See? Free and bond to receive a mark. So they trying to keep the rich, so-called rich, right? Bullshit. That dollar is out of there. That's basically what they trying to do. Keep that shit dominant. It's not gonna work, bro. Keep this economy rolling on the way it's been rolling. It's not gonna work. They're gonna have to come with a whole new layout. And they secretly they know that, and they doing that behind the wraps while they push this bullshit out, which is some stuff they have to push out because it's gonna lead to helping get these people where they ultimately need to get them, you know, and ultimately for the father's grand scheme of things, and the grand scheme of the father, he want this. Why this nigga thinking he finna make this perfect world, this robotic AI type world? This shit gonna be destroyed. The cities and the houses gonna be destroyed. Everything. Cause people gonna be, for lack of hunger or bread, people gonna be breaking into people's homes. They gonna be getting their homes ran through. This shit gonna end bad. It says, and he calls it all, both great, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive bond, to free and bond, to receive a mark, right? The skin cash in their right hand or in their forehead, that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. See? So you ain't gonna be able to buy or sell. They finna cut that dollar out of there. They're gonna have to start over, and they know that. You know? Period. These niggas is in consoles, they losing sleep. Now, closing this out, it says, and then that take me back to my point that I said here. This is Proverbs 26 and 10 in the WEB Catholic Bible. As an archer who wounds all, so is he who hires a fool, or he who hires those who pass by. So hiring people is gonna hurt them. They not gonna hurt them, you know. Period. You make more if you raise everything, but also um, include you CEOs. You'll make you'll cause they gotta I mean the whole shit is effed. The people that own these businesses, they paying more. So let's say they got a commodity or something, right, with a price on it. They gotta up their prices. Cause the other people that own businesses is doing the same thing on theirs that they buy, right? Then, and that's how everybody supposedly what stay good, right? But nope. They're gonna have to what? Cut their expenses. Where's their expenses seen at? The people that help sell their commodities that they pay, you gotta cut them off. But it's only so long that shit gonna last, cause then that destroys the city. Then you got a bunch of people that's without, and then ain't no job openings. But they, you know, so you can't buy or sell because you don't got the money unless you steal it. And then even if you go steal the money from somebody else, you stealing it to go spend it with the new business owner. So eventually you gonna lose it unless you rob them. But then see, the whole shit is just gonna go crumble, bro. And all this, once again, is happening over what, $1. They're going to have to get rid of it. They have to start over. And that's what they're going to try to do. See that? So once again, that's why, as it says, as an archer who wounds all, so is he who hires a fool, right? Or he who hires those who pass by. So ultimately, it's going to hurt the whole thing by trying to keep people employed. You know what I'm saying? They got to get rid of it. They have to stop. And they just fucked. This is Proverbs 9, not Psalms 9 and 15. The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made, and the net which they hid is their own foot taken. See that? The Lord is known by the judgment which he executed. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. See that? They're snared. And the high thing about it is they tried to set this up as a trap, right? This pit, this grave they dig, this prison, uh, this debt slave thing they came up with, you know. But now that's back. They fell into it. They in debt, right? Because the pit goes into being a slave ultimately, right? A goddamn prison. Um, and it's about to lead them to slavery ultimately also, as well, because it's ending their world, right? And and they set all this up. It's all off the things they made, and it says in the net which they hid is their own foot taken. So their foot is in the trap they laid. They done got trapped up, right? And it was a secret net that they hid. It was a secret thing. It was something set up to trap people, right? To get people right where they wanted them at, like a prey, like they was animals of prey, you know, so they can just eat off of them. Which is how you know this leading to all of this is intentionally leading to where they want people at, which is that Revelation 13 and 16 positioning, right? This is verse 2 of Psalms 10. The wicked in his pride, and notice this goes on talking about Jacob's trouble in verse 1. It says, why standest thou afar off, right? O Lord, why hidest thyself in the times of trouble? The wicked in his pride do persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. And that's exactly what's going on. They persecuting the poor. People that already didn't have money, because they trying to say it's only going to go up 4%. Nah, you got to remember, that's an added 4% to the people that's already unemployed. So don't let them tell you it's only going to go up 4%, right? 4.4%, you know? And now, that's the poor. They persecuting the poor. Because this is not to help anybody that's already effed up, obviously. Anybody that doesn't own a business, obviously. Anybody that doesn't own the banks, obviously. So what's going on here? They trying to save themselves, and obviously it's an agenda here. Once again, and what agenda is that? To end people right where they want them to end up at. So anyway, when you read on, when you get this article, it tells you, right. Um, yeah, we should. I'm gonna just read this too. It says we should prepare, quote unquote. This is from a chief U.S. economist at research firm SGH Macro Advisors. He said in a note to clients about this week's economic projections, he wrote, quote unquote, we should prepare ourselves for projections intended to communicate the Fed's resolve to reduce inflation by targeting a higher level of employment. See? They want people fucked up out here. These ones is crazy, man. It's gonna be a beautiful day to see. When everybody that thought they had it and niggas is fucked up, you drug dealers, all you niggas done. Cause can't nobody buy your drugs no more. You got regular 9 to 5 niggas that shop with you. They're finna be done. What you gonna do? You gonna be done. And you proud fake ass niggas, you fake ass gangsters, you fake ass niggas. You not even there's no such thing as a fake nigga. A nigga is fake. There ain't no such thing as a damn, a nigga. That's a damn imagination. Y'all gonna die. All of y'all. I can't wait to see it. I don't want to rock the side. We are the elect. We gonna be straight. Cause this is what we doing. Right? You gonna die. You women, you gonna die. You proud ass Americans, you gonna die. The Lord don't give a fuck about your business. Right? When they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. You know? Young nigga Young Jeezy made a song during the times of the recessions back in the past. He like trapping ain't dead, niggas just scared. And he was making songs about the recession. Basically like ain't no recession, for niggas that do this or do that. Nah, you gonna all feel it. But anyway, these devils lying to you, right? You can just read this whole article. It's all there. It's over with. Talking about some economists have been skeptical that the Fed can reduce job vacancies without a noticeable increase in the unemployment rate. It's gonna be clear, ain't nobody working. The Lord said the grinding gonna be low. You know, that's why you want to seek the Lord now. Remember God in your youth, but niggas is partying right now while they got their strength. While they got they, so-called faculties. This is Revelation. It's like Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember now the Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not. Right, the evil days start in some months. Because they showing you in this article, if you paying attention, right? Because clearly the Lord wants this to come out, right? And I have no problem explaining it through the Spirit. This is they look in 2022. This they said when the year started off, the first 3 months. This is what this, or no, they saying this are officials, right? A number of Fed officials in March who projected. So the same shit, right? Same thing. Projected, Slovakia projected particularly a particular unemployment rate at the end of each year. So now knowing this ain't talking about the months, that makes the point even clear. Just by they don't know. I'm thinking this was a graph showing you how everything went up, from the beginning months of 2022 to the middle of the year to the end of the year, But nah, this is, you know, it's, it's irrelevant. It's done. It's done. Now, what I want to show in this is some very clear. All right. The central bank's action this year to bring down inflation, quote unquote, will take fortitude. You're gonna have to be built to survive, like their way of getting everything where they want to get it at. A lot of people gonna be, people gonna fold. They're gonna be at their wits end. They're gonna lose it. It says there will be bumps along the road. I might just retitle this "News Reports of Prophecy." This is not even it's too long to be a report. Reports. Words from Babylon, words on the streets of Babylon. I might leave it there. I don't know, But you see, this heavy. It says there will be bumps along the road. Said the federal, you know, said the Cleveland federal president Loretta Mester in a speech earlier this morning, quote unquote. The unemployment rate could temporarily move above estimates of its longer run level. She said this, quote unquote, will be painful, but so is high inflation. Man. Man. And idle workers. But it's something this damn devil said. He said, yeah, right here. Federal Governor Christopher Waller went a step further in a speech May 30th, quote unquote, if we can get unemployment to just 4.25%, I will consider that a match. So what these people gonna do? They don't care. They don't care. That's your fault if you bought into America. You didn't rise in the park. That's your fault. You're bit by a serpent now. And it might be you. You might listen to this video, you bullshit, you playing. It's gonna be you. It says, I will consider that a masterful, and we don't care if it's us. Lord gonna try us. We won't out. I will consider that a masterful, us that's in His truth. It says, in true faith and sincerity. It says, I will consider that a masterful performance. What the hell? By the central bank, he said. See? Masterful. This a plan. It's an agenda. It's an objective. And it concerns people. Masterful means powerful and able to control others. Right? Dictatorial. These niggas on some draconian legislation. Roam back, man. You know? Tyrannical. Look, oppressive are synonyms to tyrannical. Tyrannical meaning exercising power in a cruel or arbitrary way. See, anti-democratic is a synonym to tyrannical. This is heavy, man. You know? Y'all about to feel it. The devil coming down having great wrath because he like, damn, it ain't nothing we can do. The hell with these people. And the main people, Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And any peon, peasant, so-called white person that ain't elite like them. You know? So there, that's basically it. You know? And then ironically, this came out, Government Executive Daily is another shutdown on the horizon. See that? So this all set up. September 20, 2022. Once again, Congress is negotiating a short-term funding bill as the risk of a government shutdown looms. The October 1st deadline is less than 2 weeks, but lawmakers say they have settled on a continuing resolution that will fund the government until mid-December, but they have yet to determine exactly which provisions will be in it. Now, if the government shutdown happens, that links up with this. Basically, that's a government shutdown. They can easily just make it easy to, because they already showed, like when Trump was in office, people will be okay with a shutdown. So if they trying to keep people in control, which the Lord want them to really think they're in control, right, and not wild out, they could just say, well, we're going to shut the government down and, have people lose their jobs like that and then restart the government and and not hire nobody because shit just too effed up. They could just try to be the devil all the way to the end like that. So that's basically it. That's all I want to bring out, show through the spirit. Lord willing, you learned something, you was edified. Um, I got one more. We're going to go to Isaiah 24:17. It says, what? Fear and the pit are upon thee. See? Fear and the pit are upon thee, O inhabitant of the earth. See? Man, it's out of there. You know? Out of there. Y'all people about to 2023 said it's gonna be the year of hell, man, the year from hell. They got a lot planned. It's a lot that's gonna happen in the coming months. You know, you just gotta keep your eyes out, cause the Lord He can bring the end really whenever. He can have them bring the chip shit before the year over with. They could be talking this shit. You know what I'm saying? But the way everything like they doing everything the Lord wants them to do, and it's on a timeline more increasingly in this year coming up, the so-called year coming up in a few months, right? You about to see digital currencies rolled out because they finna get rid of these. So that's basically all I want to bring out, man. Uh, you know, I'm gonna just stop right there. Call Halam La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Wahara Kakodas. You should see it, man. Shalom.